You don't exist. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowed like sis. Then it perfect in the kid. Got a billion new single, my hater, the big better put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million, the devil, that shit ain't not cheaper again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the first part of What If Naruto Enters Helluvaboss. Special note, this fanfic is written in a masterpiece of Bones Boy 15 on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. A waterfall roared nearby, its voice drowned out by the sound of the 1,000 chirping birds that perched in his friend's hand. His bod burned as if it were on fire and his chest ached where it had been pointed in, but he pushed past it. His legs coiled in preparation to leap. Before he launched himself at his friend, a vermilion orb swirled above his palm. Naruto. Sasuke. Blue eyes squinted through the pain. His arm reached out. The orb aimed to stop his friend grazing the headband that rested there. A gash was left, symbolizing what he knew was to come. He almost grinned past his pained grimace. Almost. The feeling of success, of smug satisfaction, for doing exactly as he was challenged to do, was lost as his friend's attack found its mark. The tear of skin and muscle jarred his control. The smell of death and the taste of BLD overwhelmed his nerves. But it was the sound that he hated the most. Sharp, piercing agony. The birds, those godden birds, just wouldn't shut the FCK up. It was aggravating. It was infuriating. It was an alarm clock. F zombie Jesus rotting meat stick shut up. A clawed fist dropped down on the device, shattering it to oblivion. The peace almost came once more, but an air horn sounded overhead and the lone occupant of the room jumped with a yelp, tangling himself further into the manageable chaos he slept in. By the time his frazzled wits were about him, the boss system started speaking. Go odd morning, baby bro. We have a lot of after-party cleanup to deal with today, so get your cute little butt out of bed. Now exposed in the makeshift den prior to the startling second wake-up call, two blue eyes cracked open and surveyed their surroundings. Hexagonal golden wallpaper that looked more like a beehive structure than room decor. Check. Bright neon orange sheets and blankets haphazardly discarded around a large king-size mattress. Check. Emergency supply of instant ramen still untouched by unworthy hands, claws, tentacles, or any other extremity. Check. Another stupid life mare. The blue-eyed occupant of the room groaned as he realized he'd relived his death. Again. The occupant sighed and pulled himself out of the den-like bundle of blankets and sheets he always wound himself in. Scratching the rough on his chest, the blue-eyed occupant stumbled over to a bathroom attached to his room and stared into the mirror for a moment. A lean, but tall and built, orange-furred fox fiend stared back with the same blue eyes. Slightly large fennec-like ears slowly perked up the longer the reflection's gaze was held. He had a mane of unruly spikes atop his head that had strands of gold and red intertwined in them, and throughout his coat were various lighter patches of orange that matched the scars that lay beneath. A particularly large starburst of cream rested on the left side of his chest. Outside of the darker hue around his eyes and muzzle, 3 black patches of lines that rested on either of his cheeks were the only other colors he had in his coat. There was one other difference that he had which separated his ilk from the more common hellhounds. It wasn't exactly obvious to the naked eye, but if one peered closely at the fox fiend's stomach, they would see. Oh, he stopped scratching when his claws plucked a small bug demon out of his chest fur and blue eyes peered down at it. The bug-like demon stared at him with oversized eyes before it started humping his finger. Gimme your BLD, I want your BLD. Oh, for the love of stop sneaking in here. The lech was squashed in his palm, and he growled at the remains before he flyked it into the toilet. He huffed and adjusted himself to urinate, as any male would early in the morning. As he relieved himself, feeling extra petty, he focused the stream on the bug's remains. F pervert, stay in lust, God. A sharp banging caused the stream to go wide and mess the walls. And the urinator. F, what? He shouted once he got his act together. Great, now he had to shower for 2 reasons. Naruto, get up. B wants coffee. a gruff, deep voice said from the door. Can't even take a god in PSS in this place F here. The blue-eyed, orange-furred fox fiend that was Naruto groused to himself. He turned his head back to the door. Why the F don't you get it? Because I have to head to this novel thing called a effing job. You might want to look into getting one sometime. I F you, Vortex, Naruto snapped as he shook off any dribble and flushed. Just do it, Etzel. It's the least your freeloading butt can do, Vortex snapped before he trudged away, grumbling under his breath as he did. It's the least your freeloading butt can do, Naruto mocked as he started up his shower, covering one eye as he made faces in the mirror to amuse himself. After a few seconds went by without steam fogging up his form of entertainment, he grimaced and tested the water. He flinched as he pulled his hand back just before more than a claw got in. F, I did it again. Maybe I can skip no, wait, my PSS, SHT. Resigned to his rough start, he took a deep breath. Okay, you can do this, Naruto. In and out. In and out. A large, well-built hellhound looked up from the embrace he shared with his girlfriend as a shrill, unholy shriek echoed through the manor. He flushed before he used the shower again, didn't he? Vortex asked, a wry smirk on his face as he looked down at his girlfriend. She was a yellow-furred canid-like demon with 4 arms and antenna-like tips on her ears. Her hair and tail resembled the goop within a lava lamp as it oscillated between the colors blue and pink and waved about freely. Queen Beelzebub looked away from the hall the shriek had emanated from to meet his amused gaze with her own. Probably. The sin of gluttony snickered. 2 of her hands grabbed Vortex's muzzle and pulled them down for another embrace. The other 2 hands were taking handfuls of his butt, which made him growl eagerly and reciprocate. Around a minute passed before they parted again. One red eye met her too as she liked her lips. Sure you have to work today, babe? I could convince Mayday to come help clean up over here. You and I both know why that's a bad idea. Vortex shook his head as he reluctantly pulled away. Besides, we're looking to move out of Lust to keep V in her program. Bet she doesn't last a week. And here I thought you two were friends. Vortex smirked. We are. That's how I know she won't last a week, B smirked back. She tapped his nose with one hand before she sauntered away to a couch, stretching a pair of arms above her head while one of the other pair rested on her hip and the last scratched her stomach. She stifled a yawn and flopped onto the cushions before she looked back at him. But I love your dedication to her. Tastes like cinnamon buns. No wonder you're so clingy this morning. Smartass. Go to work before I make you take the day off. Tempt me with a good time. Tell your brother I'll see him later. Vortex said as he headed out. B waved him off and made a bowl of popcorn appear in her lap. She waited for the door to close and then fliked the television remote on. A frantically scrubbing, drenched fox fiend appeared on the screen. B snorted when, in his rush to get clean, the younger demon slipped and fell in the shower. She pressed record on the remote and went back to chowing down on the popcorn. You are never living this down, baby bro. Now, gimme the money shot. I need to sell this to Ozzy to buy some of Belfager's goods. And this time don't forget to grab the macchiato latte with extra vanilla spurts. Gotta keep Moxie's mouth shut for another 10 minutes somehow. And if you forget it again, he'll get so F-seeking PSSY and Millie won't let me hear the end of it. I can't F-seeking deal with that today, Looney. I just can't do it. I have a very important client stopping. Yeah, grab Fatty's macchiato. I got it, Blitzo. A wolf-like hellhound clad in clothes that could be described as goth muttered as she hung up her hellphone. She immediately went back to browsing Instagram as she walked into the Hothead Cafe. She'd much rather have just devil-dashed this order in. But since the last extermination day, the wait time for a D-dasher had doubled and the costs for DLVRY tripled. Neither she nor her, co-workers were made of that kind of money, and given she was the her ear twitched a bit here secretary, it was her job to pick up the weekly breakfast order. At least it gave her a reason to get away from her D Blitzo, Millie and Fatty. After a 10-minute wait for the idiots that actually came in half asleep to get their drinks, the hellhound made it to the cashier. The teenage sinner, if her nose was right, looked like an amoeba plastered onto a generic demon body. Each of its microspots looked more like zits. They plastered a fake smile on their face once the hellhound looked up from her phone. Hi, welcome to Hot. Order pickup, name's Loona, the hellhound. Loona huffed. She went back to checking Instagram and looked up again when the sinner didn't move. Well? There's a 30-minute wait for, A 30-minute wait? I ordered this SHT almost 20 minutes ago, Loona growled. How strong is it to make 3 coffees? The lardo imp Blitzo hired could live without his monstrosity of an order. His stomach would thank Loona from the ulcer that never was. There's another order that's, the sinner stuttered and shrank back from her. God, how has this SHT stain survived in hell for so long? What, was it some wimp that took the lame way out when they were human? I thought most of those effing idiots got dealt with during Extermination Day. She wasn't awake enough for this SHT. Look, I don't care about your FC King excuses. Can you just throw the vanilla latte together? I can wait for the rest. Loona huffed. Sure. Great, thanks. Loona held the sinner's gaze, and she almost snarled. Some FC King time today? Oh, alright. Sorry. The sinner winced and darted about the counter, squishing and slipping past their coworkers and occasionally getting cussed at by the imps, incubi or succubi that they worked with. Christ, thank God I never had to work retail, Loona thought with a huff. Another 3 minutes went by before she was given her latte. A sip had her nerves settle and her tail swished once before she got it under control. The rest of your order will be done. Just FC King call my name. Loona growled before she stepped to the side and claimed a spot on the wall to lean against. Her attention went back to Instagram, only broken whenever the need for vanilla latte called. She barely registered the jingle of the cafe's doorbell as yet another SLV to the sweet relief that was caffeine walked in. A few DNED muttered around her, but Loona ignored it. A sweet violet fragrance drifted into her line of scent, but she wrote it off as some WHR's perfume. Another incidental whiff gave her a hint of something with it that was ... intriguing. Didn't know that Serb even had Sinstagram. Loona flinched away from the sudden and close voice. She growled and tore her eyes from her hellphone, raising her gaze up to rip into the creepy butt staring at her screen. She started and her nose twitched when her eyes met 2 blue orbs. Well, at least she knew where the violet smell came from. Hi, the hellhound grinned down at her and Loona felt her cheeks warm from the earnest, bright thing. He was a head or so taller than her, but lean, maybe a stick when soaking wet. Strong to say with how his VERYYYY Maydays tour shirt fell loosely over his frame. She took in his orange coat, the faint cream on the underside and the darker circles around his odd blue eyes. The erratic sway of his tail made her wonder if it had gotten broken enough times to be turned into powder. I'm Naruto. Harper said that everyone waiting on their pickup order was over here. Loona. The hellhound quietly cursed her stutter and pocketed her phone. She brushed a strand of hair out of her face and played with her half-empty latte. You waiting on your order, too? Oh, nah. Mine was the one holding the others up. Loona quickly looked down at the 3 triple stacks of coffee carriers he had under his arm, all full of large cups. DMN. Her eyes darted back up when his eyes drifted away to the ceiling and a claw scratched the weird marking on his cheek, almost sheepishly. Well, it's not even my order, just picking it up for a friend. Didn't realize it would keep people held up though, so I figured I'd apologize for the wait. Sorry. That's noble of you. Loona bit down on her knee-jerk response to call this guy out as an idiot. Which, maybe he was. He didn't have to tell anyone that he's the butthole that held everyone up. She realized he was still standing near her and narrowed her eyes. Did you want something else? So he did have an ulterior motive. Typical. Wait, SHT. He put that dumb bright grin on his face again. Another coffee date, maybe? Another coffee date? Loona repeated, a brow arched. She bit her cheek to keep from smiling. His grin was so DMN infectious. Was it some kind of spell? A charm? FCK? Loona needed to browse that book for anti-charm SHT stat. Wait, doesn't this count as the first? He asked, tilting his head as an ear fliked. Oh, okay. Yep. This guy is a total idiot. Kind of cute, though weird how that bypassed her typical bar for what she considered attractive. The concern about a charm was still plausible. No. Loona almost snorted the answer out. Huh. So, that's a no on the date, too, then? Naruto asked. After she nodded, he shrugged. Ah, well, can't blame a guy for trying. Nice meeting you anyway, Loona. It was certainly something. Loona blinked as he gave her a parting wave and moved on to another waiting customer. She didn't expect him to be torn up over being rejected, but she expected his nice guy facade to drop the second she didn't jump into his arms. She watched him apologize, and only apologize, to the rest of the aggravated coffee addicts for another minute before she pulled her phone back out to wait for her order. If Loona snuck another peek or two at the weird orange hellhound's WHP of a tail and the jean-clad rear it was attached to, that wasn't anyone else's F-seeking business but her own. Hey, B, I'm H. Naruto didn't even get 2 steps in before his burden was taken from his hands, the process of which almost knocked him off of his feet. His ears flattened while he stared at his sister as she gulped down the contents of the first 2 carrying cases in record time. Home. Ah. B smacked her lips and tossed the 4 cups in her hands aside before she grabbed the next batch. I love a good dozen pots of Hothead's coffee in the morning. Shame they wouldn't take up my offer to build a location down here. Considering the staff's pay is kept laughably cheap due to their overwhelmingly high amount of Sinner employees, I'm not surprised. Naruto deadpanned as he closed the door. He checked his hell phone for the time and clicked his tongue. DMN, I'm behind. B, I'm gonna head to the gym for some try-yelp. One of B's 4 arms encircled his neck and pulled him away from the hallway that would take him to the in-house gym. Naruto growled as the sin of gluttony purred against his head, then resumed guzzling her coffee order. Ah. B tossed 3/4 of her current round away before she adjusted her grip on the last to free the arm that had him trapped. Nope, cleanup teams needed in the main chamber, east wing, and on the west's 2nd floor bathroom. What grip? Loosen the grip, thank you. What are the magic words? Do it, before I ship your cute butt down to lust and let Aussie FCK some obedience into you. The calm and buttered tone told him that's exactly what would happen if B went ahead with this plan. Resigned, the younger demon let his hackles fall. Sometimes, I think you only took me in because it cut back on your LBR costs, you know. He groused and formed the required hand seal that would allow him to create a platoon's worth of doppelgangers. With crossed arms and a po scowl, he had a scowl on his face. Naruto looked at his cloned cleaning force patent pending. All right, you all heard her. Get to it. Or else what? SHT for brains? We can't be tortured, one brave clone argued. His brothers began to murmur in agreement, the sounds of rebellion on the horizon, until a heavy aura pressed down on them. A set of arms rested over the original Naruto's shoulders and an ample bust pressed into the back of his head. It'd be RSNG if not for the rumble of a growl that filled the air. Do you want to stress test that theory? B asked, her fangs and claws growing as her eyes began to glow. Because I'm game. You don't scare us, right guys? The lone rebel amongst the clones turned to see Smoke where his fellow supporters had once stood. His bravado failed him, and he turned back to the original and his benefactor sibling. What was it that needed to be cleaned again? A plunger, gas mask, and RBB gloves appeared on the clone's person. The amused and freshly caffeinated Queen Bee rested her chin on a set of arms that were wrapped around the original Naruto's head, while the other set started pouring various coffees into a disproportionately small thermos. Her eyes no longer glowed with malicious intent, but gleeful amazement. You get to freshen up the party guests' toilets. Got 'em it. Original and clone grimaced. The guests' toilets were a series of bathrooms set in the main hall that always got clogged in one or several areas after one of B's parties. It typically required a team of specialists to handle, or one smart-butted fox fiend that lipped off at the wrong moment. The original was grimacing for the memories that would come upon his clone's dispelling, and the clone did the same for the memories he would make before the aforementioned dispelling. Resigned to his fate, the clone trudged off with its head hung, aware that it had lost its battle and bid for freedom. I'm going to repress those memories so strong, Naruto grumbled into his hand. The hand dragged down as blue eyes rolled up. There, you have a cleaning crew. Can I go train now? Of course not. We have a party to plan. B grinned as she buzzed around and pressed her head against his. Mayday's out of rehab and she deserves a celebration. Wasn't that what last night's party was for? Naruto countered, eyes half-lidded. Was it? Huh. B pulled back to rub her chin. I guess, then we'll celebrate whatever you're so peppy about. I thought I was always peppy, Naruto frowned. He growled in annoyance as the sin cooed at him and scratched a sweet spot on his jawline. Downside to the new life in hell, he was vulnerable to petting, a fact he learned way too early. You are, but it's different today. I can smell it. B grinned and scented all around the younger demon. Something happened. You're basically radiant with joy and joy? No, close, but not quite. B, back off. Lust? Nah, missing the tang. B, I'm warning you. Wait. Hold on. B grabbed his arms and shoulders with both sets of her hands before she furiously sniffed at the base of his ears. She pulled back with wide eyes and grinned. That's attraction. You met someone. Please, just drop it. Naruto pleaded feebly. He knew that this was about to be blown out of proportion. Sure enough, his request was ignored, and he was hauled through the manor to B's favorite dish space. The quiet little library that had only a few chairs and only one entrance. It made it easier for her to trap her target, which 9 times out of 10 happened to be Naruto. As he was several times before, he sat in a moon chair across from the sin as she manifested a whole plate of crepes and stared him down. Dish the deets, baby bro, spare nothing, and don't try to lie. B tossed a crepe into her mouth and grinned at him. I'll smell it. It's not a big deal. I met a hot girl while I was getting your coffee. A sinner? Humans have been getting better since they stopped keeping the BLD pure. Well, outside of Alabama, anyway. B hummed and took a sip from her coffee thermos. Another crepe was thrown into her mouth. So, keep going. She wasn't a sinner. Succubus. No, why does it? An imp? I guess they can be fun every other century. She was a hellhound, okay? She was a hot, gray hellhound with a CRP top and shorts. Can I continue so I can get on with my day? Naruto asked, eye twitching. B grinned. I knew you had taste. Only took you a few centuries, she teased. The younger demon growled at her. B laughed and popped 2 more crepes into her mouth. Right, sorry. What else? Your order delayed hers, so I apologized for the inconvenience and asked her out. She said no, Naruto spluttered as he was doused in coffee. B, the FCK? What do you mean she said no? B's hands slammed onto her desk. Her eyes bled red and her wings started to grow. You introduced yourself as Naruelzebub, asked her out, and she said no. No, I introduced myself by my name, and she said no. Calm your melons. B, it's far from the first time I got shot down. Naruto huffed and B reluctantly reverted to her friendlier, reserved appearance. I didn't think she'd go for it anyway, so I got over it and brought your order back after apologizing to the other customers for the holdup. There, story time is over. He rolled his eyes and put his hands on the chair to get up. Now, since the clones are on cleanup and there's no reason to party tonight. What? Yes there is, my baby brother. FCK, stop calling me that. B. Never. B hissed with a flash of red in her eyes. The fox fiend threw his hand up and flopped back in the seat as B leaned forward and pressed on. My baby brother just had his heart broken. For the first time For the first time, he needs a cheer-up party. He just wants to go train, like he's supposed to be, right now. Naruto growled. His hands scrubbed over his face. He raked his claws down his muzzle and let out a tired sigh. B, if I help you plan this party and attend. FCK, fine. If I help you plan and attend this party, may I use tomorrow to catch up on my training? Naruto asked with a twitch in his eye. Each word felt like he was pulling a tooth out. Negotiating with one of the 7 sins was considered an act of suicide, unless you were considered part of their family, much like Naruto was. Now, rather than suicide, it was more akin along the lines of walking a tightrope over a pit of fire to ensure his sanity remains in check. The only one who would have a stronger time would be anyone that may try to negotiate with Lucifer. A pale-faced, blonde-haired young woman sneezed and accepted the handkerchief that her girlfriend handed over. Together, they looked up at the run-down, condemned hotel that was well overdue to be refurbished or demolished. "Are you sure about this? This is going to take a lot of work, Charlie." "Maybe, but think of how good it will feel to see the first soul ascend to heaven." Charlie returned and smiled. She tucked the handkerchief into her suit pocket and pulled the other girl into a tight hug. "Now, come on, Vaggy, destiny awaits us." "You'll stay for the whole party?" B asked, peering from one of his eyes to the next. "Oh, I'm going to FC King regret this, yes." The fox fiend sighed. "Yes," B shot up from her seat and grabbed him around the neck. "Then let's get to planning. You're going to be so cheered up from this. FCK that beach who broke your heart." "Didn't break my heart, just said no." Yes, and she'll live to regret it. Now come, baby bro, big sis B got's party goods to get." B cheered as she pulled him along while she flew for the front door. "Fine, Christ, just stop pulling my neck, you psychopath. I can't believe you forgot my drink again." A small, well-dressed, white-haired imp whined forlornly as he leaned against another imp. This one a female with a small gap in her teeth and a hothead cafe cup in her hands. "Aw, don't you worry none, Mox. You can share mine." The other imp smiled and offered her drink. "It's got extra Tabasco sauce in it to give the espresso a real kick in the butt." Thank you, Millie, but I'm good." Loona ignored the byplay of the married couple and swiped her thumb over her hellphone screen while she scrolled Instagram in search of a certain orange hellhound. Reading through the grimoire's spells and counters to charms got boring real fast, and none of the ones there seemed to focus on any charms or enchantments a hellhound could cast subtly. In fact, there was a rather lengthy passage that argued against a hellhound's skill in demonic mage craft that just set her off on principle. She huffed in mild frustration as she came across another loser that claimed to be cosplaying as Naruto, who the FCK cosplays as some random hellhound. "What the horse FC King Rider FCK?" Blitzo shouted from his office before he stormed out, came over to Loona's desk and held his cup up to her line of sight. "Loony, they made my iced coffee without any ice. You better not have given those FCKers a tip." Sir? You were on the phone when Loona got here with the order an hour ago and told us not to disturb you. By the time you came out to get it, 5 minutes ago, the ice probably melted." Moxie pointed out with a raised finger. Blitzo stared at him for a moment. "Moxie?" Yes, sir." "Shut the FCK up." "Why, yes, sir." Loona snorted, typical fatty and his beach at Milansude. No wonder Millie hooked her claws into him when she could. "Right, now, we have to send these FCKers a message and..." Blitzo stopped his rant and stared at Loona's hand. "Okay, new level of weird for her adoptive parent. But wait, FCK?" Loona growled and pulled her phone out of his reach before he could snag it. "Loona, you aren't supposed to look at those kinds of websites at your age. Your innocent eyes are being FC King tainted." "For the last time, I'm almost FC King 21. Blitzo," Loona snapped as she kept her phone out of his reach. "Back off." In hellhound years, the stupid horse FCK snapped back at her so certain in his words it caused her to stare at him. Goddammit, why was Loona surrounded by idiots? "So, to everyone else that means you're only 3. I can't have hellhound services. No, I'm letting you look at that SHT when you're so young. The SHT Beelzebub's lackeys would do to us if they ever found out we violated those rules." "Blitz, you do realize that hellhounds age at the same rate as imps, right?" Millie asked, smirking from where she sat with her fat butt of a husband. Smug Beach was amused by Loona's suffering, was she? She was going to dump the next coffee Millie ordered off the freeway and fill the cup with sewer water. "What? No, they don't. Every documentary I watched before adopting my sweet Looney Toonie can attest to this." "What documentary was that, dogs? What they are and how to FCK them?" Loona sneered. Blitzo gasped and Loona's eyes crossed before they blazed with fury. "Oh, you did not just FC King do what I think you did." "No, bad Loona. We don't besmirch the sequel longings of family." Loona could have ended the fight here and now with a single word. An apology would have put the fight to a stop, swept Blitzo up into whatever bizarro fantasy his sick twisted mind came up with, and made him forget about the whole incident. That would have required a large amount of healthy pride juice to be swallowed by the hellhound, so, naturally, she did otherwise. We're only family on FC King paper, butthole. And so the fight continued as it normally would, loudly and somewhat comically. It was just another day for Imp, with the shouting of hurtful words, violence that no amount of medical insurance in hell or on earth could cover, and many, many slurs to be exchanged. The time would come when things would change, and the change would come soon. Yeah, alright, dude. Take care, Marty, watch that step. Naruto warned as he SCR'd the last of the party-goers out of the manor. The tipsy/hungover hellhound did not watch the step and proceeded to tumble the rest of the way down the slight hill that exit led to. The observing fox fiend winced and quickly checked the surroundings before he shrugged and shut the door. Once that was done, he turned around and slumped against it. Thank FCK that that's over with. Are the parasites gone? B called from somewhere nearby. She'd disappeared about an hour before the party wrapped up so she could check on her production. A text 15 minutes after had Naruto spamming clones to get the partygoers as FC King far away from the manor as he could, before searching for any sleeping drunks that might try to take advantage of the situation. Oh, did the last bit sound a bit strange? Well, while those who didn't know her but knew of her reputation may think Beelzebub would just leave the attendees to rot where they fell, so they could party again when they woke up, they were horribly wrong. She'd made those mistakes after parties over millennia ago, and found out real quick that most demons that crashed at her parties were basically scumbags and lightweights. Some attempted to SH-muse up to B, and a lesser few attempted the same to Naruto once he hit the scene, while others beached or med about needing cash or favors to get to their jobs or home. A favor here or there, if B was feeling generous, was one thing, but giving rides and cash out to everyone that crashed mid-party was a quick way to get the FCkers greed to ruin her good time. That was one of the first lessons Naruto had to learn when he first started staying with B, which was an but amount of time ago. Yes, B, there's no one left in the manor, Naruto called back with a roll of his eyes. He pushed himself off of the door and rubbed the tired organs before he checked the clock. 2:50. New record short. As he made his way to the breathery to get a post-party snack thrown together, he stretched his arms above his head and yawned. It. Why did I agree to help her set up a back-to-back party? Those are always more F-seeking exhausting than the first. I should just make clones now and sleep that off after. Baby bro, eat this. So surprised by the sudden reappearance of B, Naruto couldn't help but GG on the utensil that was shoved into his mouth. 3 of B's 4 hands steadied him while the offending if unintentional GGing hand whirled around the obstructing utensil in his mouth, spreading whatever was on it to every nook and cranny. Sweet, sticky, tangy, and a bit salty. It wasn't terrible, but the whole not being able to breathe thing was clouding his judgment. Naruto pulled himself free of the sin's grasp and braced against the nearby island. He forced down whatever the embut of goopy treat was and then doubled over to cough and gasp. The cool relief of life was but brief before it was overwhelmed by a hot fire. God damn it, B, he coughed again as he straightened up. He glared at the sweetly smiling creature he considered kin and pointed a claw at her once he got his coughing fit in check. We've talked about this, damn it. Stop F-seeking doing that. Oh, grow a set, beach. You lived, didn't you? I lie. That's not the F-seeking point. You can't just shove SHT into people's mouths, he growled at her. He held a finger up when she opened her mouth to argue. This ain't lust, and we aren't F-seeking. My point stands. TCH, fine. I'm sorry, or whatever so. What'd you think? Good SHT, right? B asked with a big smile and wide red eyes, all but dismissing his near-death experience at her hands. Naruto let out another soft cough as he glanced over her posture. 2 of her hands tightly interlocked in front of her, while one of the other 2 wrung around the other which held the oversized, plastic spork that she'd choked him with. Ugh. Was that thing freaking green? He almost died to a green spork. FCK seriously? Weak. Gimme a second, alright? I had other things on my mind. You gotta stop thinking about that beach that turned you down, baby bro. I wasn't thinking about I needed air. Gimme a second, goddamn. Naruto growled into his hand and ran his tongue over some of the residual goop that was in between his teeth. He used a claw to pick out another chunk and sniffed it before he slurped it down. It's a bit slimy, and yet strangely satisfying. So good, B pressed, her wings beating up as she leaned in, her smile growing. Well, of the past 10 flavors you've tried to kill me with, I'd put it at a solid 4, up at the top, but not top 3 material. Naruto evaluated as his tongue cleaned over the rest of his gums. This taste was going to be popping up for the next few days. Well, he was just happy it wasn't going to be as bad as the nut butter incident. So, more time in the pot? Less? Too much flavor. Does it need more? Come on, baby bro, help your big sis out. Here. What's it missing? B asked, hovering around him and darting from one side to the next. He closed his eyes to think and avoid getting dizzy from her erratic movements. Maybe a companion snack? Tastes like it could be a dip. Ooh, new snack dip. Great idea, baby bro. B sent the offensive green spork away and pulled a small notebook out to scrawl in. Where did the notebook and pen come from? Naruto didn't know. He wasn't great with magic, the simple sleight of hand variant or otherwise, and hearing about the theory behind either always made him smell copper. Glad to help, B. Naruto sighed. A small smile stretched across his face as she muttered about possible combinations. It was at the point where she started weighing the pros and cons of dipping a meatloaver's pizza into the new flavor that he decided to back out. All right, the party is over. I lived through another ambush taste test. I'm gonna make some ramen and then take a nap. Nap? What? Come on, don't be a stick in the mud, bro. It's only... B glanced at the clock and then snapped back to grin at him. 3:15 in the morning. Your point? Naruto stared at her with half-lidded eyes. He took a deep breath and put a hand to his temples. A slow breath slid out of his mouth before he looked at the sin of gluttony once more. B, do you remember what our agreement was? That you live with me basically rent-free and help me out whenever I ask? B smiled back sweetly, a glint of something in her eyes. He held the gaze with one of his own for all of a second before he groaned. Yeah, FCK, fine. I walked into that one. No, B. My day. Today, I want to train. Naruto crossed his arms. And since you don't like letting me go all out... Whoa, hey, don't make me out to be the bad guy, B snapped back, a set of hands on her hips while one balled up at the side, and the other pointed back at him. She hovered in his face and jabbed his chest. What you do when you get in that zone is not training. It's borderline self-harm. It is not okay. Not to mention, it leaves a rancid FC King stank in my gym. Oh, FCK off. I have to clean it up, anyway. Your clones will, you mean? FCK semantics. Naruto threw his hand up with a frustrated snarl. It was too early to argue about this. I'm trying to get it under control, B. But if you won't honor our arrangement... Our arrangement keeps Lusei from sending you to Mammon's fighting pits to take care of that SHT. And he only agreed to that because he saw that you were like me. B's eyes started to glow and more of Queen Beelzebub started to emerge from the party-loving face. Past all that SHT that Fuquad left inside you, he could tell that your sin matched mine. You belong here with me, Naruelzebub. With you, sure, not to you. Naruto shot back with a snarl. He faintly registered the sound of his shirt tearing, but his focus was on the sin. Even with the skewed perception his own hearing caused, he could tell his voice deepened. The ground cracked under his digitigrade feet and a darker arm pointed at the growling sin. You don't FC King own me, Beelzebub. I humor your FC King parties, but in case you've forgotten, dear sister, I have my own FC King life to live. You won't if you keep trying to kill yourself trying to use that SHT, you brain-dead dumbbutt. Beelzebub flew into his face and nearly pierced his snout with her claw. He bared his teeth and snarled as she kept shouting back. In case you've forgotten, you ungrateful little dipsht, you do belong to me. The Ring of Gluttony, and every FC King thing in it, belongs to me. Guess what, bro, that includes you. The island he once used to steady himself was crushed under his claws, and their argument devolved into roars. Vortex liked to consider himself a calm and collected individual. He'd had a series of life experience under his belt before he advanced to the status he was at. Some of the SHT he'd seen would be enough to make the most experienced soldiers cry. FCK, that wasn't even including the loss of his eye. That SHTTY adventure happened just before his sweet baby B flew into his life, turned it upside down and then right side up. He owed the sin, and to some extent her lazy FCK of a brother, more than he could ever repay her. So, whenever his hellphone screamed with her assigned shriek, he tended to put it as priority. Thankfully, VERYYYY was not only used to this take, but after the breakup with her last boyfriend/bodyguard, she approved of the action. It didn't hurt that the pop star and sin of gluttony were friends. Better get that text. Who knows, maybe B wizened up and decided to dump your butt. VERYYYY teased as she and her crew took a break from the move prep to soundboard. Josh and Coco jeered while the rest of the crew snickered. Ha ha, FCKU, V. Vortex shook his head, smirking as he pulled his phone out and ignored the mock orgy sounds that the crew tried to bomb his call with. The picture was a selfie of B curled into his chest post-CTS. Vortex didn't remember when it happened, just that it was early on. He unlocked the phone and held it up to his ear. "What's up, babe?" The response from the other side of the call was not coherent, which, frankly, wasn't usual, but also wasn't frequent enough for him to brush it off. Snarls and roars were combined with the sounds of what he could only guess to be collateral damage. Immediately, Vortex went into work mode. He had to keep his head on, and that meant keeping calm. Even if he was worried, he knew that B could handle herself. She was the FC King's sin of gluttony, after all. "Babe, B, I need a sit rep." A particularly loud pair of shrieks caused Vortex to drop his phone and cup his hands over his ears. FCK. All he had in his head were his own thoughts and a constant high-pitched ringing. Oh, FC King terrific. His hearing was shot. A hand carefully pressed on his shoulder, and he WHP-ped around with a snarl. VERYYYY stared at him, eyes worried, and he tried to follow her lips as she asked him something. DMN, being half-blind and deaf, was not doing him any favors. "Can't hear." Vortex kept his voice even as best he could and closed his eyes. The migraine that was going to come after this was going to be murderous. Should clear up in a bit. B's in a fight. Sounds serious. Might be another sin. Best course of action is to stay put. Can someone hang up my phone? A rebuttering pat followed before he was guided to sit. Thank FCK he could still use his sense of smell. Sharp cherry vanilla perfume. Kiki. His good eye cracked open, and the succubus in question was smiling at him in relief. She rubbed his arm and made a few gestures with her fingers. Right, her sister was born deaf. He appreciated the consideration. Nah, I'm good. Kai. Everyone needs to sit tight. I can't do SHT right now. Vortex sighed. He could keep track of the crew so long as they stayed put, since without his hearing and already being down and I put him in a huge disadvantage. Thankfully, this was just an accident, and they weren't being targeted by fans. Something jabbed into his chest, and he looked up to see VERYYYY holding his hellphone out. The call had ended, and he could still use it for simple tasks if need be. VERYYYY pulled her own device out and tapped at the screen a few times. A message went through, and once his phone vibrated, he read it. "Yeah, I'm sure. Our best move is to sit tight. Just let me know if a ring goes on lockdown." Vortex grimaced and brushed at his left ear when the ringing suddenly went intense. It died down after a second. If she is fighting another sin, that'll seal it. Just go back to brainstorming. Guys, I'm going to call a few extra hands to secure the premises my treat, V. VERYYYY, whose credit had gone to SHT just before she went to rehab, smiled gratefully and leaned in. Oh, FCK, not this again. He held a hand up and growled. Before this happens, because I know I can't stop you, a warning. If any of you sick FCkers try to do anything more than scratch, he warned. The musical crew of succubi and incubi gained stars in their eyes as he resigned himself to being the crew's emotional support animal. It wasn't the first time this happened, and it likely wouldn't be the last. As VERYYYY and Kiki started to scratch his ears, Vortex used what remained of his faltering coherency to send his girlfriend a message asking her to get in touch when the fight was over. Hopefully, B would get back to him soon and he could enjoy his friend and boss's show of affection without looking too stupid. With an irate snarl, a solitary pillar fell over just before the dust fully settled in what used to be the foyer of Beelzebub's manor. Its crash was followed by a roar of pain, before a tense quiet filled the room. Two canid-like demons were across from each other, One heaved heavy breaths as she got to her feet, while the other teetered on the edge of consciousness and tried to pull himself out from under the pillar that fell on him without the use of his arms. B winced and glanced down at the dislocated right arm on her side. Part of it was missing a good chunk in the tricep, after the other demon got a good bite out of her. She grabbed the arm and grit her teeth before she forced it back into place. Then, a quick swell of power healed the chunk that was missing. She sighed and glared at the pinned demon. "You done?" B asked, her eyes still red. A cautious step brought her closer, and a weak growl kept her at bay. B felt her shoulders slump. "FCK, can we stop wrecking my house now, please?" Naruto snarled, and his emissive white eyes narrowed before his struggles to escape his confinement renewed. The spiral-like markings that sprouted upon his ascension started to glow. She was quick to dish out another smack to the snout and fall back. The strike was sure to break his concentration, but she couldn't be in range for any retaliation. The glowing stopped, and the embutive fox fiend collapsed back under the pillar with a whine. "Don't give me that SHT, baby bro. You started this," B hissed. She closed her eyes and growled before she threw her arms, sans the freshly reset one, up. "Seriously, what the FCK, dude? This is what the FCK I'm talking about. You can't train with that SHT, it's killing you." D did ... once. The deep rumble of his true demonic form was faltering. Great. B won. If only she wasn't sore and her house wasn't a FC King wreck in the making. This is why she preferred partying to fights. At least a party only had furniture damage and most of the structural stuff was superficial. When she had to fight, repairs tended to get expensive, if not turned into full-on renovation projects. And that was with her trying not to get serious. She liked her house, thank you very much. "Yeah, and UFC King died then," B argued. With another growl, she resumed her approach and dropped down to sit beside the little idiot. He curled his lip and she fliked the edge of his nose. "FCK off with that tough guy CRP. Fight's over. I won." Naruto growled once more before he looked away from her. B sighed and used her top right hand to clear some of the dried BLD out of her adjacent eye. The left reached out and pressed into his shoulder. He turned to snarl at her again, but her other left hand caught his muzzle with ease. "I'm helping you revert, you little SHT. Just relax, okay?" He snorted but let his eyes close, and she guided him in putting his monstrous demonic reserves in check. His fur lightened from the darker hue it gained, and he started to shrink down. By the time it was done, the pillar's cracked structure gave and parted to either side of him. B let out another huff and looked down at the ungrateful brat she took in. Half-lidded blue eyes glared at the wall across from him. His limp and broken arms rested at his side. One leg looked slightly malformed. She'd have to get some of her royal honey out to fix that, and the fur on his tail started to grow back. B sighed and pulled at the remnants of the shirt that remained. "Well, there's another priceless piece of VERYYYY memorabilia that you've destroyed. Do you have a less famous artist you want to promote in your spare time? I'll bet their merch is cheaper." "FCK off." "Oh, for the love of..." B scowled and swatted the younger demon on the top of his nose. "Oh, SHT. Grow the FCK up," B glared at him. He scowled back for a second before she flared her power. "I will put you in the FC King IQ. Bro, don't test me. Way to show you care. Believe it or not, I like having you around, Naru." B huffed. She adjusted herself and then pulled his head into her lap. Her claws D through BLD-stained fur, gently parting the clumps, and tweaked a spot by the base of his ear. "You can be a loudmouthed, arrogant, stubborn little SH-thed sometimes. I feel the love. But," B ignored his grumbled interjection, "you put up with my SHT. You help me stay on course. You don't let me go too party crazy, and I'm super grateful for that. Trust me, if you think I'm bad, I can get FC King worse." "The nightmare." Naruto snorted. His eyes drifted shut, and a soft rumble started when her left hand reached under to catch his sweet spot at the base of his jaw. B grinned as he tried to fight back the purr that stuttered about in his chest. "Not cool." "Deal." B snorted. She enjoyed scratching her adorable baby brother and waited until she felt the first twitch of his floofy tail. Sure enough, another second of resistance passed before he succumbed to her affectionate scratches. B closed her eyes and went over the events of the night after the party ended, the argument that led to this, Another sigh parted her lips, and she stopped abusing his body's weakness to let him regain some semblance of clarity. Why'd ya stop? Look. B twisted and cradled the fox fiend's head in her good set of hands so they could look eye to eye. I get it. No, I do get it, baby bro. You've got an unhealthy fixation, rooted in something connected to our sin. But the training, and this, that SHT, it's not good. And yeah, haha, we're in hell, but seriously. When I say every resident in the ring of gluttony belongs to me, I mean that in the sense that I don't like it when other people go breaking my SHT. People or possessions, same diff. He growled at her and his eyes flashed white. B rolled her eyes. You don't like it, I know. I get that, too. I wasn't always Queen Bee, baby bro. I know what it's like to be a possession. To an extent, I still am. Just, with more freedom and responsibility and SHT. She leveled him with a look. Part of that is making sure you don't FCK up and get on Lucé's bad side. Yeah. He huffed. A flake spittle of nearly dried BLD landed on the ground. 'Cause I'm so scared of that little clown. Naru Lesbub, do not take Lucifer lightly. He was the first to rise up and the first to be cast down. Be warned. He grumbled his doubts, stubborn little BSTRD. Resigned to let him keep his low opinion of Morningstar, for now, she patted him on the cheek. I'm skipping tracks, the point is, you belong to me. It's the truth, and at SCKS, she paused and shrugged. Well, for you, I guess it does, but, it could always be a whole lot F-seeking worse. Oh, yeah? How? His gaze narrowed, and she arched a brow. Oh, he wanted her to prove it? Well, for starters, you could be Ozzy's personal pet beach, ridden and FCK'd on every night of the days that end in Y. B deadpanned. Naruto opened his mouth, closed it, and then let out a resigned sigh as his ears went flat. B smirked and scratched his jawline to get the purrs going again. Yeah, I figured you'd prefer this arrangement. Her sweet, stupid, little baby brother couldn't argue that. Maybe it was because it was a good point that he couldn't refute, or, more likely, it was because she'd all but shut down his higher brain functions by targeting his sweet spot. Regardless, the fight was over. B won. All that came next would be rebuilding her place and then punishing the foolish little fox fiend in her lap. Perhaps Tex was onto something. Maybe it was time he got an actual job outside of being her first choice in LBR, out of the ring. Unsupervised, without a guarantee he'd not stir SHT up between sins. She'd have to think about it. All right, come on, baby bro. B pulled him up off of the ground and carried his more or less limp body in her arms. She glanced at the cut across his spine. Probably severed. Guess we might as well go watch some of Lucai's SHTTY early morning TV cartoons while you heal. Oh, FCK me raw with an iron rod. Can't you just kill me instead? And let you take the easy way out? No, I think not. B smirked as he whined. She glanced around and spotted her phone amongst some of the rubble. She snatched it up with one of her spare hands and hummed at the sight of a fresh text. Whoops, she accidentally dialed text. She'll just get back to him once she gets her troublesome baby brother all set up. Which she did by dumping him none too gently on the mostly untouched couch. There you go, baby bro. Don't go anywhere. You're so F-seeking funny, I forgot how to laugh. The snark from the temporarily paralyzed fox fiend caused B to laugh. She clicked on the television just as taller than average imp slid out onto the screen. Hey, all you FC quads out there with an axe to grind and a wallet of cash to spend. My name is Blitzo, the O is silent, and I have a deal for you. As B read over the message from her boyfriend, and a few others she'd missed during the fight, she occasionally glanced up at the commercial. A small smirk crossed her face. Good on this imp for challenging the bullshit status quo. He probably couldn't hold a job down, so he made his own, and got the backing from some noble, if that inferred portal was anything to go by. The idea of an afterlife revenge hit squad was certainly a unique one. Imp, huh? I wonder if they're hiring. B thought as she sent Vortex an all clear. She glanced at her baby bro's back and then made her way to her honey chambers. They should be relatively unharmed by the fight. At least, they better be. A fire ravaged a small building in the heart of Imp City. Normally, this was nothing new to befall the mongrel denizens of Hell's top circle. If one considered where the namesake's kind stood in Hell's hierarchy, It was frankly one of the lesser forms of devastation that could strike the city. Alas, this building in particular is a crucial location for one imp, as it was the same building that housed their place of business. Well, there goes that office. I'm surprised it lasted more than a week. Loona snorted. She pulled her hell phone out and started searching Instagram for any office floor openings nearby before word of the fire spread and prices skyrocketed to even higher and more ridiculous numbers. The three idiots beside her should be so grateful she was so practically minded. Her left ear perked up when the fatty started talking. When did we implement that policy, sir? When you set fire to my office in front of a client, you FCK dipshit. Blitzo shouted as he jostled Moxie by the collar. Loona looked up from her property hunt and smirked at the little shidiot getting his just desserts. After a hot second of adult, her adoptive parent tossed their co-worker down and covered his face. He took in a deep breath and then interlaced his hands in front of him. Okay, it's fine, I'm good. It's okay. We have a job. We can fix this. We can avenge Slippery, Sparkery, and Fuckboy. But to do that, first, I need somebody to please tell me that fancy book is still intact. By fancy book, I take it you mean our meal ticket to Earth? Loona asked, feigning the innocence she hadn't had in her body for essentially a decade. When Blitzo nodded, she twisted her hand to pull the grimoire out of the small pocket dimension. She managed to create it was one of the most complicated, exhausting things she'd ever done, and took almost 3 days to ensure she got right. But she showed that stupid book's speciest excerpt about hellhounds and their supposed magical ineptitude what's seeking what, and held it up. Yeah, I got it. Good job, Loony, good girl. The pride she felt for managing a difficult spell was suddenly overwhelmed by annoyance as Blitzo cooed at her. He held out, oh, this motherfucker is not offering her a dog treat. You get a tweet now. PSS off, Blitz. Loona growled. She leaned back in disgust as he tossed the cookie up and just ate it. Ugh, you're so gross. Love you, too, Loony, Blitzo cooed up at her. He glanced around and then winked at her. Wanna just open that portal up for daddy? Some of the things you say, sir, I can never unhear. Ugh, and to think she agreed with a fatty on that. Loona needed a shower. She cracked the grimoire open and found the appropriate spell. Just go kill this beach, FCK. Loona scowled as she opened the portal to Earth in a nearby alleyway. Millie and Blitzo whooped, with the latter jumping in almost instantly, and the former paused for another Blitzo-patented one-liner. I hate my Blitzo. Loona grumbled as she closed the portal and tucked the grimoire away to its pocket dimension once more. She pulled her phone out and went back to searching for a new office space. As she scrolled through Instagram, she found a post from some loser named Partamarty. According to his bio, he was a budding stand-up artist that had friends in the right places or some SHT. Well, she could use a quick laugh, and so opened the story. The dingo-like hellhound story started with him at a party, a rave? Meh, something that wasn't usually Loona's scene. She was open to them, but what with her childhood and being adopted by Blitzo? Yeah, parties weren't exactly Loona's thing. After that came a quick clip of Hold On. Loona turned the volume on and swiped the story scene back. Woo, yeah, Queen Bee's party's off the chucking farts. The camera bounced with who Loona presumed to be Partamarty as a loud club song drowned out all conversation. The camera stilled as a cup came into view. FCK money get beaches, am I right? Yeah, awoo. The cup disappeared with the sound of loud gulping, but the camera shifted, as if held at an angle, and showed a familiar loose, fluffy orange tail attached to a recognizable jean-clad rear pass by. The camera quickly lifted back up to focus on some crowd surfers. She had to rewatch the story once more before she decided it was safer to think that was exactly who she thought it was. Huh. Loona blinked as she let the story finish with a camera pan up to an unrecognizable forest before it ended. Didn't take him to be the party type. FCK, what was his name? Navajo? Naraku's HT, it was some kind of N name. Whatever wonder why he came up to Pride for coffee if he was just going to be at that party in Gluttony. Is their coffee that bad? When's the last time I had coffee? Coffee sounds like a good idea right now. Loona nodded to herself, deciding that getting coffee was a better move than just loitering around a burnt building. Blitzo would call her when he's ready to go. Or he wouldn't, and she'd get sole claim over the apartment. At that dark thought, Loona stopped for a moment. It felt like something just squeezed her insides and took a moment to breathe. Another beat passed before she shook off the weird feeling that overcame her with the thought of Blitzo's death. He was just the guy that gave her somewhere to live before she would have had to figure it out herself. FCK, I need coffee. Loona sighed and rubbed her head as she strode off for the nearest Hothead cafe. Sure, the Satan Fucks was closer, but Hothead had a better and more importantly cheaper blend. If she went back to searching for other stories that related to Partamarties, that wasn't anyone's F-seeking business but her own. Vortex whistled as he took in the damage to his girlfriend's manor. The front doors were all but gone, and several windows were blown out. The hive was cracked with several of the hexagon panels missing. Furthermore, glass was everywhere along the lawn and path, and what looked like the back room's couch was halfway through the west wing's wall. He decided to make his way down here after his hearing came back about 2 hours ago, right as Josh was getting a few snarl-free selfies with a scratch-drunk Tex. Those photos, unfortunately for Ace, would never see the light of day. Furthermore, Vortex now owes Josh a new phone, and he might have to cover the medical bill for the stitches in his hand. Holy SHT, I thought you were just exaggerating when you said she was in a fight, VERYYYY said as she stepped up beside him. Vortex sighed and rubbed his face. Against his better judgment, the entire crew invited themselves to come help B with whatever cleanup was needed. While he dreaded it, it was obvious their help was going to be welcome. Hate to see the other guy. One of the girls, who stood too far from Tex for him to identify by sound alone, muttered. Speak for yourself, Coco. Ace scoffed from where he stood with an arm around Josh's shoulders. Ah, and he identified the speaker. Bonus. Whatever motherfucker picked a fight with Queen Bee has ball. Of the gargling variety, Josh added with a snort, and Ace grinned down at him. Exactly. Okay, as cute as your flirting is, let's go check on B, huh? VERYYYY suggested, giving Vortex the nudge he needed to tear his eyes away from the damage. He nodded and led the crew in. A few subtle sniffs led him to furrow his brow. What the FCK? What? I don't smell anyone other than B, and Vortex trailed off. He didn't exactly get why B was against introducing her brother to VERYYYY when she let him make runs to other rings, but she had laid it out in front of him as soon as he got the job. Under no circumstances should the two be allowed to meet. Still, it was B's ring, and her rules were her rules. That is, until she agreed to lift them because of, well, this SHT storm. You? Kind of expected since you live with her most of the time. VERYYYY snorted as she looked around. God, I've never seen this place F-seeking trashed before. The parties get wild, but the cleanup is what? Magic? Fishing for secrets already. V? Not cool. Vortex turned and grinned as he greeted his girl with a hug. Was it a bit tighter than she was used to? Probably, but she didn't wince, so she wasn't hurt. He was redirected to mesh his lips with hers, much to the playful GGS and jeers of the crew behind him. The embrace broke before they pulled back, and Vortex smiled at B, who cradled his face. Hey, babe, she said softly. Sorry for the scare. Not intentional. Honestly, I prefer a butt dial mid-fight than coming back to this completely unaware, Vortex admitted before he hugged her again. Still, apology accepted. I knew you'd be okay. Where's? Hello, snack. Cat was the first to purr, her greeting swiftly joined by a bunch of elated succubi and incubi gasps. From the corner of his eye, Vortex could even see his boss had gone wide-eyed and slack-jawed. While he wondered that was about, the reaction that made him look was when he felt B flinch in his arms. Determined to see the cause of a reaction, Vortex pulled out of his hug to see a very cut-up, and very cut, foxfiend. See, Vortex knew that B's little brother wasn't a total sloth, but given that the demon never ventured out without instruction to, he never considered that the foxfiend in question would be fit. This was only obvious to him now because the layabout was clad in less cloth than his adoptive sister. There were even scars in places that made Vortex wonder how the FCK he survived. One in particular was a starburst of cream fur on the left side of his chest. Okay, B, we fixed the East Wing's hot tub, so can I rely? Naruto looked up and took in the many faces staring at him. Then he looked at B, brows furrowed and lip curled. You did not schedule a party tonight, did you? Honestly, Naruto wasn't avoiding Vortex intentionally. He F up the house and he got his butt kicked, so yes, he was expecting to have to throw hands with the boyfriend at some point. However, that had to wait, as he had to be punished for his insubordination. Part 1 of his punishment, once he'd healed, was to go around the house and do what he could to fix the damage. Part 2 was still pending. Of course, Part 1 got put on hold once Tex and motherfucking VERYYYY, one body F party Mayday, showed up with her entire lust-born crew. Once there, introductions were made during which the room reeked of arsehole and longing. Two things that Naruto never got much of a taste for in his time as B's baby brother. He was allowed to delegate Part 1's punishment to his horde of clones. At least this batch had the common sense not to start any SHT right after the original got his butt handed to him on 7 different platters. Oh, and that horde he delegated his punishment to. Yeah, he so stupidly created in the grand view of an entire crew made up of succubi and incubi. It was like serving freshly made chum to an ocean of hungry sharks. Naruto was on the run from that moment on. Shouts of "dibs" followed his departure, and B's laugh put her right the F back on his list of people who earned his wholehearted maleficent vengeance. Thank the faceless, silent, questionably omniscient god for the substitution technique. If not for that, Naruto would likely be suffering a severe F deficiency in multiple vitamins and life force. So, tired and hungry from spending the past 4 now 5 hours on the run from an eager group of sect demons that wanted the one F card he was allowed to bring with him to the afterlife, he sought a refuel break in the second kitchen. It was a bona fide miracle that it remained untouched from his and B's little squabble, as she called it. Of course, this detour caused him to lower his guard. Lo and behold, as he ducked into the fridge to get something cold and extremely alcoholic to drink from the back, he was caught by a member of the crew. Thankfully, it was the only one that wanted a piece of him in a non-SXL manner. "You look like SHT. F you, Vortex." Naruto sighed as he pulled a bottle of Beelzejuice out and shut the fridge. He turned to glare at the hellhound. The fucker wasn't even glaring at him, just watching him. Stoic and calm, like nothing about the situation bothered him. Not aloof, thank Christ, because the last thing Naruto needed was to run into some that acted like his old sensei after so long, and flicked the bottle's cap off. He took a swig, enjoyed the bitter sting of B's most popular product, before he sniffed and rolled his neck. "So, now what? You want to go a round or two? Get back at me for leaving B with a shiner for all of 3 F seconds. B's a big girl." "Ha, yeah, play it cool." The irritation wafted off of the hellhound was like an Akamich's fart. It may not be loud, but it can fill a room, and it is deadly. Besides, she already got you back for that. "No SHT she did." Naruto snorted and took another swig before he leaned against the counter. "Basically paralyzed me from the neck down for 3 F hours and forced me to suffer through those god-awful motherfucking public access shows on her television for 2 of them. I'd say I sympathize, but frankly, I don't want any F part of that." Vortex admitted with a wince. Naruto raised his bottle in recognition of his small win. Not many wanted to suffer that punishment in hell. He was mid-sip when the bodyguard spoke again. "So, did you think about it? Public access television? Kinda strong not to when you can't move." He snorted. Vortex glared at him. "I meant, if you thought about what I said yesterday. In case you forgot, dickhead, a lot of SHT went down between then and now." Naruto deadpanned. Vortex curled his lip and swallowed the growl that just barely came out. "Do you want me to take a swing at you or something?" "I mean, no. But if it helps you relax, go for it." The fox fiend shrugged. Weirdly enough, violence was one of the few things he understood. Conversation through combat, Satan called it. A lost art or some SHT. He was quite fluent, despite the time between his last life and this one, and was able to navigate such a type of conversation with inhabitants of wrath almost as easily as he did with those of gluttony. "I'm not taking a swing at you." "Cool. Good talk. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to get back to avoiding your fuckbuddies." Naruto huffed. With a snarl that shook the fine china in the cabinets, the hellhound shot to his feet and slammed his hands on the table. Naruto tensed, ready to retaliate if he were to be leapt at. The two stared each other down before Tex closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Tension bled out of the large hound's shoulders. You are a loud, annoying little shithiel. Thank you. Naruto once more toasted with a half-serious smile on his face. The irritation was more resigned now, and the brief flare of anger was gone nearly as soon as it appeared. Maybe this guy really didn't stay pissed like B said. At least he saw why she was so interested in him now. Outside of the great PP, anyway. But you stood your own against a significant fraction of the sin of gluttony's full power. That, on its own, is impressive. Vortex straightened up and worked his jaw. Do you want a job? I'm sorry, what? Naruto blinked and nearly dropped his drink. That certainly wasn't where he expected the conversation to go. He'd expected a punch to be thrown somewhere between 15 to 10 minutes ago. SHT, he still expected a punch. Okay, my bad. I should have guessed that you might still be a little concussed after my girl whooped your butt. This smart-ass sisterfucker just said that to him with a straight face. Damn it, Naruto actually respected him more for it. He knew that he couldn't say that to someone without bursting into laughter mid-sentence. So, I'll say it again slowly. Do you want a job? Me? A glorified babysitter? Naruto asked and crossed his arms. He closed his eyes and willed his tail not to swish. Memories of all sorts raced through his head all at once. A snowy land turning to spring as a giant little girl cried out her dream to a faceless parent. Walking across long spanning beaches beside a convoy of royals. Standing atop an unfinished bridge beside his friend to protect a drunk of a bridge builder. These and others filtered in and out of Naruto's mind's eye, but they were pushed back. The Beelzejuice bottle was brought up to his lips, and he swallowed another good portion. Ah, he sighed, hung his head and scratched his ear. A snort escaped him before he started snickering. You want me to be a bodyguard? To who? Those chucklefucks that have been harassing me? F you. No, not them. I can handle my fuckbuddies. Vortex scoffed. Well, okay, Naruto was definitely willing to hear him out now. That was a brilliant turnaround. Call back? Whatever, Vortex made a dumb joke, and he was tipsy enough to enjoy it. But bodyguarding is a profitable gig, and when B backs you resume. You mean if... Naruto interjected flatly. He looked down at the bottle in his claw and a scowl formed on his face. She might not want to share her pet. All right, I let a lot slide with you, but that SHT, that will get you F-smacked. Vortex warned around a growl. Do not talk about B that way. Oh, F off, you STD-riddled mutt. Naruto rolled his eyes and set his drink on the counter. He crossed his arms again to stare the scowling hellhound down. It's something that came up after I got my butt kicked. It's a sin thing. You wouldn't understand. The F is that supposed to mean? Vortex scowled. Oh, this stupid dog had no idea what kind of world they were in. Naruto knew. He'd been part of it for a lot longer than the hellhound had been. Ask B. Naruto shrugged. He stretched and rocked his neck from one side to the next. Now, maybe you're onto something with the babysitting gig. And, tell you what, you get B to let me get a license for it? Sure, I'll babysit some rich F's silver spoon SPRM child. Are you serious? Vortex growled. Dead. But. Naruto nodded. He let out a yawn. F, I'm tired. Tell B I'm going to sleep some more. She'll find me if she needs me. Naruto wasn't even out of the room when the hellhound stopped him again. I don't F get you, Naru Elzebub. Vortex admitted. Oof, busted out his true name. This was heartfelt honesty. You are probably the one F thing I don't that I can't get about B. I don't understand why she gives it SHT about you, but for some F reason, she does. Yeah, she does. Lucky me. Am I right? He asked. The smile he wanted to bear wouldn't reach his ears. Tex shifted behind him, and the familiar sharp sting of aggression assaulted his nose. BF second that changes. You bring the chips, I'll pack a basket. It's a date. A silence held between the two before Vortex huffed out a laugh and strode out of the room in the other direction. Sleep light, but... Yeah. Naruto waved at him without looking back. Memories of mortals that controlled the elements and used big butt, F that entire field in particular animals to fight continued to dance in front of his closed eyes. FU, too, Vortex. Days had passed since the fire almost put immediate murder professionals' budding business out. The money from the following gig helped cover repairs and the replacement of most of the supplies that were lost. It had been mostly quiet since then, and the excitement of that job had more or less made one particular member of IMP able to make plans for an evening she wanted to celebrate alone. Loona had been surfing Instagram for a good dive bar to celebrate the minute she woke up. Yeah, it was hell, and there wasn't a drinking age. But there was a drinking limit for certain species at certain ages because they couldn't afford to allow extinction due to inebriation to strike lest Lucifer have nothing to rule over or some SHT. Anyway, her birthday plans mostly consisted of ditching the idiots at IMP and rocking it out as a recognized adult in her species' culture. As for how, well, Millie and her fatty hubby were going to be easy. They knew each other for less than a year. Their fucks about what she did outside of work were at absolute zero, and Loona was more than fine to share the mutual feeling. It was Blitzo that would remember something about today, that part she was sure on. After all, he'd gotten pretty good at annoying her for the past 4 years. He'd ruin whatever chance she had at expanding her circle of friends aside from him, and, tentatively, the smarter half of their married coworkers by bringing himself along whenever she tried to sneak out. But she was ready this year. While the imp was on one of his correspondences with their rich DTFY benefactor insert full body shutter here, Loona had acquired some horse tranquilizers that she planned to slip into his weekly breakfast coffee. Why did she choose to get equine medication? Well, for one thing, they were the cheapest thing at the market, DMN near free out of a vending machine, and the other reason was just for the irony of it. Yeah, it might take a few hours before he actually drank the essentially roofied drink, but he would be more or less out of her hair, coat and life for the foreseeable evening. All in all, Loona was ready for a perfect, imp-less day. Alas, she underestimated the overcompensating swell of compassion her adoptive father was capable of. Loona yelped when the door to her room was kicked open and a large, asymmetrical thing was brought in, held above the imp assassin's head by both of said imp's arms. Heart racing, the hellhound snarled and glared glowing daggers at the imp. Before she could properly cuss him out, he opened his mouth. And, much to her horror and that of their neighbors, began to sing. "Happy B-Day to you. Happy birthday, dear Loony," Blitzo sang, slightly off-key, way out of tune, and more like the wedding march than the actual Gotham song. Furthermore, he was stumbling slightly, clearly struggling to carry that monstrosity he had in his hands. Christ, he could make a deaf guy cringe. Loona whined as she covered her head with a pillow and turned into the mattress. She felt her tail curl into her legs and squeezed her eyes shut. Nope. She could still hear him. "Happy birthday to Yawu." Blitzo stopped singing Mercy's Never Cease for a minute to not only catch his breath but to set the giant thing down on the floor. And he didn't drop it. Okay, she had to give him a little bit of credit for that. She looked at the sloppy icing job that, maybe it once resembled the number 21 in a crackhead's fever dream. Before she could try to get him out of her hair, he started singing again. "Yuo." Blitzo held his hands out to the side, a giant stupid grin on his face as he looked at Loona expectantly and heaved for breaths. Typical, seeking validation from her. She scowled at him and dropped her pillow on the mattress. "What? The actual it's your birthday." "Yeah, my birthday, my 21st birthday. You think I want you to barge in here, deafen me and put this. What the even is this SHT on the floor?" Loona threw the thing a foul glare, sniffed, and then focused that glare back on Blitzo. Did you take the rest of that stupid cake? You brought home weeks-old cake, barged into my room at bullshit early in the morning and started assaulting me with that song. I told you to stop treating me like I'm a goddamn child. I thought you might. Yeah, well, that was your mistake, wasn't it? Loona snarled. She groaned and held her head. God damn it, Blitzo, one day. Is it too much to ask? Just let me have this one day. Do you want today off? Loona, Blitzo asked, correcting himself at her glare. His words sank in and Loona blinked. Day off? Holy SHT, did she just score a day off? A reasonable excuse to get the away from the idiot brigade? Yeah, you know what? Yes, I'm taking today off. Loona leaned in and growled at Blitzo. And if I see you anywhere near me today, can we celebrate tomorrow? If I see you Anywhere. Near me. Today. Loona reiterated as her fury grew. Blitzo put his hands together in a single clap and F smiled at her. What the F was wrong with this guy? A question she's been asking herself for the past 4 years since she was adopted. There was still no answer. Okay, Looney Tooney, today's your day. Before she could stop him, he launched himself at her and put her in a tight hug that had her baring her teeth. What F part of her not seeing him did he think not touching her wasn't included? Worse yet, he planted an embrace on her cheek just F no, before he pet her bedhead, the butt. You have a good day today, birthday girl. Because tomorrow is our day. J just get the F out. Loona growled. She wasn't sure how she'd lost this fight, but it certainly felt like she did. Just as suddenly as he had exploded into her life, into her room, Blitzo was gone. Loona stood alone in the room, silently seethed, and reached up to drag claws through the fur on her face. Once to straighten it out, a second time to graze the skin beneath, and a final time to get that sweet rush of danger fight defend adrenaline most sentients got whenever something got too close to their face. She closed her eyes and let out a long, heavy sigh mixed with a final tired grow, and let her arms drop. Thank merciful Lucifer, he's gone, she muttered. She was about to climb back into bed when something occurred to her. I can save the horse tranquilizer for another day. Loona smirked at the thought and flopped back on her bed. Maybe the morning hadn't been ruined. She could relax, find a dive bar for later, and then go get a vanilla latte, alone. And while she drank that, she could plan another day to knock Blitzo out. Yep, this was going to be a good day. 2 red eyes opened to look at the ceiling, and immediately, the hellhound scowled. It hasn't even been 10 minutes. Blitzo flinched and tried to duck back into the vent he was half climbing out of. The attempt didn't go well. He fell with a yell and hit the floor with a thump. Rebounded like a F-champ though, another bit of credit Loona begrudgingly gave him. He was like a F-cockroach. Then he hopped to his feet and tried to talk to her. I just thought you'd want me to save the cake for tomorrow. Without looking at him, Loona snarled. Get out. Wow, yeah, no F way they make this. Naruto mused as he looked over the coffee order he'd picked up on Devil Dash. It took a day for him to convince her, which was 23 more hours than he wanted to deal with the succubi and incubi that had been brought into his sister's trashed home. But Vortex actually got B to back his application to be a bodyguard. Sure, her one condition was that she had to vet the prospective clients, but Naruto was all for that. Knowing his luck, and based on his personal experience, he'd pick a job where he was protecting the last scion of a lost ring of hell destined to save the world or some SHT like that. So yeah, B could pick the baby he would be paid to sit on. That doesn't sound right. I better not say that aloud. Naruto's blue eyes squinted before he shook it off. Anyway, while he waited on B to find him a client, he picked up a simple DLVRY gig with Devil Dash. Which, by the way, is probably a F-grade idea. Whatever resident of hell came up with it must be rolling in it. Come on, daddy needs a new tie. A feline-like sinner had a wide grin on his face as he shook a pair of dice at a gambling table. The dice were thrown and his grin fell. Ah, F me. Snake eyes, house wins the pot. The snooty chimera of a box sinner announced to the dismayed players stationed around the table. God damn it. Husk slammed his face into the table as his last chips were taken away. He looked up with a scowl and drummed his fingers on the edge. F. Where's the nearest card table when I need it? Unaware of his inaccurate assumption, Naruto went back to reading over the order that was placed by some poor sod named Moxie. Well, at least these two are definitely getting their order HM. Wonder if I still get paid if they don't make this butts drink, Naruto mused. He frowned. They probably have a loophole that fucks me over. Resigned to the waste of time this trip could be, he walked into the Hothead Cafe and waved at the teenage sinner behind the counter. They perked up and waved back. Shame about Harper, who got shot in the back by some over-eager security guard while robbing some overpriced electronics store. Naruto didn't judge, but he figured that crimes of necessity might help a case on getting into heaven. Not that he wanted to go there, no, he gave up on that long-shot dream a long but time ago. Harper, hey, how's it going? Naruto asked, grinning at them once he got to the counter. Harper grinned back, or at least, he was pretty sure they did. Doing good, Mr. Elzebub, yes sir. For the last time. Harper, it's Naruto. I'm not even picking up for B today. Naruto shook his head. He looked at his hellphone. I got a pickup for a Moxie? Oh, yeah. That, Harper shrank in on themselves and wrung their hands. Look, we can swing the other 2 drinks easy, but the one for, Moxie. I know, it's ridiculous. The Fox Fiend leaned on the counter and looked at the order. Some people were just plain assholes. Shaking his head, he looked away from the phone screen and met Harper's nervous gaze. Tell you what, make him a regular coffee and get everyone back there to spit in it. Why you want me to 2p purposefully get a coup customer's order wrong? Harper gulped. Oh, this poor, sweet summer child didn't deserve to be down here. No. Naruto waved a hand as his tail flicked. He grinned. It's a prank, a harmless prank, on some schmuck who thinks he's too good to order off your company's menu. I mean, come on, you read this F thing, right? Who drinks soy milk in hell? I guess that's a good point. Harper chewed their lip. Hey, all right, just give me a minute. No rush. I'll be here. Naruto waved off with a grin as his tail swished through the air. He adjusted the setting on his current order and stepped to the side to let the next customer through. He looked through his messages and checked the once more active group chat he had with Serb, Herb, and Russ. The guards to the lowest gates of hell were back on shift after their century-long vacation, and there were already complaints coming in from the whiniest of the trio. He'd have to find a way to send them something nice, maybe use a favor from B. 4 fists barreled into his snout. He caught an arm in his teeth and ripped it out of its socket. Or he could wait until she got him an actual gig. Maybe a prospective client would have more connections they'd be willing to use. Yeah, probably a better idea to do that. Just hurry it up, alright? I'm not spending my whole day here. Wow, someone needed their fix and bad. Naruto would just stay out of their way and wait for his order. Oh, SHT, it's you again. He looked up from his phone and his ears rose with his brows. A grin spread across his face. Hey, it's, please get this right. Please get this right. Please get this right, Loona, right? He asked. Her ears perked and she pushed some hair out of her eyes. Weird. Tex's eyes looked closer to a light burgundy whereas Luna's were SHT. They were DMN near crimson. They were really pretty eyes. He'd always had an appreciation for a nice hue of red. It was a shame she didn't want to go out with him. Ah well, c'est la vie. He could at least be cordial with her. Right? And you're now wacky? She asked, wincing as she did. To his credit, Naruto managed to stifle the first snort, but the more it replayed in his head, it was all too certain that he'd lost the battle to his laughter. Which he did. Thankfully, Loona didn't take it too poorly. The non-existent counter for an absence of Sakura-chan level freakouts just hit 7 digits. Motherfuckers. Woo, even though she seemed a bit off. Wait, sorry. I'm not good with names. No, it's fine. My name's weird, even by Hell's SHT standards. He waved her off once he recomposed himself. He leaned against the wall and looked up at the ceiling with a small smile. Another chuckle trickled out as he ran a hand over his head. Hot DMN. Nawaki. Holy SHT, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time. Then, what is your name? Loona fished, hand on her hip, the other fiddling with her phone, while she avoided looking at it. Naruto glanced back at her and weighed the options he had. Prime time for a prank, or he could be genuine. Yeah, this was a no-brainer. He already had a prank in the making for that Moxie guy. The worst Loona did was turn him down, and she was far from the first girl to do that. Naruto, he offered with a small smile. She mouthed the name before she smiled back. Naruto? There you go, he grinned. She looked away and played with her phone a bit. He expected it to end there, so he started to let his mind drift back to the name Nawaki and those connected to it. Then, Loona continued talking to him. So, is this another coffee run for your friend? Translation: should I even waste my time waiting for a drink here? Not for a friend, but it is a coffee run. He shrugged. He gestured to the spot beside him as a large rotund sinner that looked like some kind of fish made his way to the front of the line. Once Loona was comfortable on the wall beside him, Naruto continued, holding his phone up for emphasis. It's a small gig with Devil Dash. Gotta keep myself busy until I land a real job. Oh, Loona arched her brow. She reached up to play with a bit of her hair that fell over her eyes. Can't say he blamed her for that. It looked soft. What do you do? Hopefully, bodyguarding. Naruto chuckled at the blink she gave in turn. Yeah, I know. I look like I'm a twig compared to most hellhound guards. I never made that correlation. Well, at least she wasn't lying outright. You don't, I'd thought with the dye. Was she uncomfortable? Did discomfort have a scent, or was it a mix? Was that something he could smell? He had to run that by B. Wait, hold up. Dye? Naruto asked, crossing his arms. Must not touch head. Must not touch head. Must not touch head. His unique hair was similar to his sister's, in that it was a deviation from Hell's norm and that it drew criticism whenever the opportunity arose. Granted, the most he got were complaints about a mane or bird's nest in the form of the few thirsty papers of fan mail from a decision he made many years ago. Your, coat? Loona winced and her tail curled around her legs. Eyes up. Naruto. That counter is still going strong. Is that, rude? Sorry, I grew up in an orphanage and, outside of the typical behavior lessons, there's not a lot of, hellhound etiquette, you know? Orphan. Dead last. Loser. Idiot. I'm not. Naruto huffed with a flare of his nostrils. Loona stared at him, a brow slowly rising up while her eyes narrowed and one of her ears flicked. Agitation and confusion was a bitter combination. Her scent was better with the vibe she had before he shook his head to focus on the here and now. Sorry, I meant, I'm not a hellhound. Huh? Loona tilted her head and oh, merciful Lucifer, spare him. That's not fair. She can't be hot and adorable. I'm not a hellhound, he reiterated. Her brows furrowed and her eyes darted around before she came to some decision. She leaned in and, at his nod when she looked up at him to confirm, sniffed. Her face seemed to relax for a second before her brow furrowed again, and she gently shook herself while she pulled away. Maybe it was a silent sneeze. Yeah, it's about that time of year. She looked back up at him with an arched brow. You're sure? Pretty sure. Naruto chuckled. Know a few, though, so maybe you smell them. Loona kept staring at him. He shifted from one foot to the next, and his right ear flicked. Her brow scrunched up before it relaxed, and she gave a slow nod. Maybe. Pretty red eyes glanced back up into his blue. But, if you're not a hellhound? Kind of an offshoot. Lucifer called my kind foxfiend. Real original, right? He smirked when she huffed out a small laugh. If you're in preschool, maybe. Well, you didn't hear this from me, but... Naruto made a show of checking their surroundings. None of the patrons of the Hothead Cafe could give two shits. But still it was all about the performance before he leaned in and mumbled out of the side of his mouth. My friends and I sometimes call him the head brat in charge, you know. The others wouldn't say that to the head of Hell's face, but Naruto and a few sins. Yeah, B might, depends on how iffy Lucai tasted that day. F off. Loona let out a light laugh. Or was it a giggle? Girls giggle, right? He made a girl giggle. He made a girl giggle. F. Yes, SCK on a fat sloppy pig PP wherever you are in the afterlife. Eno. Naruto made a girl laugh at his dumb joke. On my life, I swear it's the truth. He promised, smiling as he put a hand over his chest. He opened his mouth to say something else when his name was called. Mr. LZE and Naruto? I got your pickup for Moxie. And that's me. Nice to see you again, Loona. Naruto shrugged and smiled at Loona. He went up to the counter to gather the order and grinned at Harper. All set? M made to your S specification, sir. The germ-like sinner leaned in close. T to get comp compliance? I had to drop your, name. The inflection on the word implied his true name's use. Whatever, this prank was worth it. That's all right. Thanks, Harp. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 2. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author BonesBoy15 on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.